Welcome, everybody. Thanks for participating today. We will start with introductions. I'm Dale Stein, chair of the committee. Darren?
Darren Hickling, voting member.
And Bethany, I'm going to turn it over to you now.
So thank you very much, Dale. Scott, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Scott Ryan, YSCD voting member.
Thank you. I also want to take the opportunity to introduce our new voting member who is joining us today, filling in as the New York State Grange representative. We have Matt Brower. Matt is a former employee of the Department of Agriculture and Markets who served the State Soil and Water Conservation Committee in a technical advisory capacity for many years. Matt's also an active farmer and a current board member of the Fulton County Soil and Water Conservation District. I just wanted to formally welcome Matt. Thank you for taking on the role and going through the whole process to become a voting member. We're looking forward to having you here with us.
Yes, thank you.
Introduce yourself.
Welcome, Matt.
So yeah, I was with Ag and Markets for 26 years, and I had served on the Fulton County board before working for Ag and Markets, and then got off when I started working here, and I'm back on there again. So worked in Montgomery County District for several years before coming to Ag and Markets. So been involved in this for quite a few years. So figured I might as well hang in there a little longer.
Welcome back.
Okay, so we will move on to advisory member introductions, and per usual, I'll just do kind of the roll call, and if you're here in the room or if you're on the line, please introduce yourself. Ag and Markets.
I'll serve in that role today. Oh, and I'm sorry, I interrupted somebody on the line there. Is that Jeff?
Yeah, good morning. This is Jeff Keogh, Ag Protection.
And I'll also support Jeff and be an Ag and Markets rep today as well. Ryan Steinmiller, Assistant Director for Land and Water Resources.
Welcome. Cornell Cooperative Extension. Okay. How about Cornell CALS? CDEA.
Good morning, Bethany. Caitlin Stewart, CDEA President.
Morning, Caitlin.
Jason Cutterback with CDA Division 2 rep.
Morning, Jason. DEC. Okay. Department of Health.
Good morning, everybody. This is Paul Kasmarzik.
Morning, Paul. Department of State.
Kate's on.
And
Good morning, Kate.
on as well.
Morning.
Morning, Pete. How about SUNY ESF?
Good morning. This is Steve Shaw from ESF.
Good morning, Steve. And USDA. NRCS. All right, so then we'll do a quick state committee staff introductions. I am Bethany Bisdu, Executive Director of the State Soil and Water Conservation Committee. Greg Albrecht.
Morning, everyone. Greg Albrecht, AIM Coordinator with the State Committee in Ag and Markets.
Good morning. PJ Emmerich.
Hi, PJ Emmerich, Region 2 Associate Environmental Analyst.
Morning. Ryan Cunningham.
Good morning, Ryan Cunningham, Region 4 AEA Field Staff for the State Committee.
Jennifer Clifford.
Jennifer Clifford, Climate Resilient Farming Organization.
Ben Luskin.
Ben Luskin, Region 5 AEA and State Aid to Districts Program Manager.
Ron Bush.
Good morning, Ron Bush, CNP Specialist.
Good morning. Brendan Jordan.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Brendan Jordan, CNMP Specialist with the State Committee.
Tim Clark.
Yep, good morning, everybody. Tim Clark, engineer.
Scott Fickbaum.
Scott Fickbaum, State Committee, Region 3 AEA.
Victor DiGiacomo.
Morning. Victor Giacomo, Regional Field Staff for Western New York.
Lauren Prozorski. Melissa.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Administrative Assistant.
Tyler.
Good morning, everyone. Tyler Knapp, Program Analyst here at the State Committee and Ag and Markets.
And Tim Sheldon.
Yeah, hi, Tim Sheldon, Excelsior Fellow here at the department.
All right. Thank you all so much. And I just want to also say a quick welcome to all the conservation districts and others who are on the line. Thank you for joining. If you would like to introduce yourself, please feel free to enter your name and your affiliation into the chat of the WebEx. Just a quick reminder for folks on the line, please mute your lines unless you're asking a question or providing a report. Here in the office, let's try to not shuffle our papers so much because I think they get a lot of feedback on that end too. So with that, Dale, I think we've concluded the introduction portion. Actually, before we move to the review and approve of minutes, I do want to mention to the group that there has been a couple changes made to the agenda from when it was originally sent out. We will be postponing the presentation of the AEM Certified Planner CNMP Quality Assurance Program for a future meeting, but we will also be postponing the review and approval of the Climate Resilient Farming Round 8 request for proposals.
Fine, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I can actually just kind of shed a little bit of light on the CRF Round 8 requests for proposals on behalf of the team that's working on that. Jennifer, Greg, Bethany, the whole staff. We've been working very hard over the last many months, taking in district feedback in regards to how we would administer this CRF Round 8 special round where we would also have federal funding through recently awarded Climate Smart Commodities Grant. And we were well prepared to move forward with the RFP this month. But through our partners at DEC, we here at Ag and Markets and the State Committee had a meeting with our program liaison from USDA, where we asked a series of questions and confirming our approach just one last time before we move forward. At that meeting, however, we did hear some new information regarding how we document match. Match resources were proposed to come through our Climate Resilient Farming Program for complementary practices, as well as the Regenerate New York program on the forestry side. And it looks like it'll be a little bit more complicated how we document the match through the program. That gave us reason for pause and rethinking how we're going to move forward. So we have some options on the table, but decided the best course of action right now would be to postpone the Round 8 RFP approval and come back to do that at the March meeting. So essentially the match documentation, as it was reported to us, means that if we were to use our state program dollars, we would have to meet all of the same federal requirements. That means the requirements to participate in a federal program, as well as the various reporting requirements placed on us from USDA through this program. That was news to us, and gave us reason to rethink how we've got things structured right now. We want to also do a little bit more research, and now that that has kind of sunk in a little bit more, go back and reflect on how we had proposed and the match, and try to ask some more follow-up questions in regards to how we actually are going to accomplish that. So all of that being said, I thought it was most important and prudent to postpone for a few weeks. I'll take any questions or comments. It is, Dale. It is.
Yeah, more bureaucracy. Okay, well, thanks for the update, and definitely has to be held off for the time being to find this a viable solution that doesn't encompass a massive amount of extra work for everybody. All right, next on our agenda, review and approve minutes. Does anybody have any comments, additions, corrections to minutes?
So moved.
Moved. Second, please.
I'll second it. Scott?
Thank you. We'll go to voting. Darren?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Approved. Thank you very much. Correspondence, Bethany?
Thank you, Dale. So we do have a couple of pieces of correspondence to share with the state committee today. The first, thank you, Ryan, appreciate that. The first is a letter that was received from the Orange County Soil and Water Conservation District, addressed to Dale Stein, Chairman, signed by Paula DeBlock, who is the district's Grange representative. The district wrote a letter expressing their concern over the conservation practice approval policies of the State Soil and Water Conservation Committee, specifically the approval policies written into the soil health policy. The letter reflects that the current staff does not have the authority to certify the cover crop conservation practice for New York State funding programs, and indicates that the new soil health policy requires that anyone approving or certifying the practice must have certified crop advisor status. The letter reflects that this policy is a concern to the district and could potentially threaten to diminish the application of this high benefit conservation practice, making the planning and approval process complicated and daunting, could dissuade farms and district staff from promoting and implementing the practice, as well as making it difficult to encourage the implementation of it. Just in conclusion, the letter is just expressing frustration with the policy, and wanted to bring it to the attention of the State Soil and Water Conservation Committee. So in response to this letter, we would like to draft a letter back to the Orange County Soil and Water Conservation District Board, explaining the certification process for soil health practices and providing a little bit more background into why that requirement was put in place for soil health practices, specifically for cover crops. But before sending that letter, I wanted to get some thoughts from the voting members to see if that's an appropriate approach or not.
Is that requirement the same for other agronomic practices? Or is cover crop the only
It's
thing?
not correct. It's not just cover crops. So the state soil and water, the soil health policy defines a number of different agronomic practices that fall within the soil health category, cover crop being one of them. And as it's written in that particular policy, a certified crop advisor would need to sign off and certify those practices. If someone with CCA is not available, you could also have an applicable NRCS job approval authority, or if none of those exist within your district, there is a potential to work with other neighboring districts or even state committee staff who have that CCA certification.
Bethany, just a point of context here, that the letter states about the new soil health policy, but this is not a new provision within the recently adopted policy, correct? This has been in place for a number of years.
Correct. Towards the end of 2023, we did update the soil health policy, but the certification requirement has remained the same and consistent since I think the first version, which was implementation guidance back in like 2016, corresponded with round 21 of the Ag Non-Point Source program.
I think.
Could I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Please.
This is Paula DeBlock from the Orange County Soil and Water Board. The letter also talked about our Kevin Sumner having 43 years of experience doing exactly these practices. So you didn't mention that. What we're asking is that he be grandfathered in so that he can maintain that ability to approve cover crops. It seems ridiculous that you could certify somebody with 1 year experience or NRCS, which is almost impossible to get anyway, to get them to do it when we have someone with 43 years of experience. But you didn't even say that part of the letter.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. I tried to paraphrase the letter, but just also for further clarification, all of the voting members did receive the actual letter and have had the opportunity to review it.
Well, and to be honest with you, that's one thing that I struggled with a little bit, because I do know Kevin, worked with him quite a bit and understand his experience and knowledge and appreciate that. But also realizing that you have to have some kind of guidance, some kind of guidelines, it's hard to pick and choose, I guess, who could go without having the CCA and who can't, that was the thing I struggled with a little bit was, well, if a person had 10 years experience with the district, would that be good enough? So I did note that when I read it over, and like I said, knowing Kevin and having worked with him, I feel comfortable that he could certify a cover crop practice. But I also was struggling with, well, where do you draw the line? What district employee should be able to go without the certification, and which one should need it?
Well, maybe they do need to be looked at a case-by-case basis. I just heard you say in the very beginning something about having to deal with more bureaucracy, about putting those other rounds or whatever aside because more bureaucracy to be dealt with. Well, that's what you're doing here.
Aaron, Scott, what do you think?
It's gonna be. Yeah, you probably should be able to take experience into. I get where they're coming from, but again, you got to have some kind of cutoff, and you got to have some kind of. But it would be nice. I guess it would be nice to have some kind of experience, caveat for experience.
Yeah, I kind of agree. We gotta be consistent though.
Yeah, agreed.
As a farmer, I would agree with that too, that I don't necessarily think all the time you need to have a license, if you want to call it that, to do something if you have experience. I don't know how to get that figured out. I would ask that in my view, maybe can we hold off a month on sending a letter to Orange County and staff? Put some more thought into this and we can talk about it at the next month meeting. Is it possible to, where Kevin's already been certifying for many years, it's kind of crazy not to allow it to continue. Is there a way to make parameter where you work in it so many years, you're allowed to do it? I don't know. As I said, I don't want to see more bureaucracy created, but we do have to have parameters, limitations, and rules and guidelines and all that in place. But boy, I'm not looking to create more and more staffing requirements for districts.
Well, and Dale, I would think holding off another month or so wouldn't be a problem because not going to be doing anything with cover crops right now anyway. So
well, that's why I
think that's the way to go myself.
I mean, would it be possible just to grandfather somebody in that's already been approving these plans? You know, then that's a way to, you know, if they've been approving for a certain amount of time or whatever, but then going forward, they need to be certified. I don't know. I'm just thinking that's maybe a way so you're not necessarily having to. It's kind of a cutoff point, you know.
I think we would need to build some of that language into the soil health policy and make it clear so that it would be available to others who as well who would meet the particular qualifications if that's the direction we want to take. So I think it would mean if we held off another month, we would have to, in the meantime, take a look at the soil health policy that was just approved at the end of last year and crack that open and revise that accordingly.
Do we know offhand if there's other counties in the same predicament? I mean, I kind of have to believe there would be. But.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Well, I would say, just knowing Fulton County, I don't believe has a person on district staff that's a CCA, so I would think that we would run into that situation eventually. Whether it would be a problem finding somebody to do the certification or not, I don't know, but I know the district staff doesn't have somebody.
CCAs are pretty, sparse in the North Country, but everyone's always been able to find a neighboring district or a consultant to help, a private planner. So it hasn't been an issue in the region I'm in.
Corey Humphrey asked a question in the chat, just confirming, will regional AEAs still be available to fill this role in lieu of credential? Regional AEAs who have certified crop advisor status, a number of our regional AEAs do, and staff in general. In fact, staff have left the field to come into the office here. We've maintained those credentials for various reasons, and this is one of them. So that's also an option available to districts.
Well, I certainly don't have a problem with taking a month and reviewing the policy, since I'm not as familiar with it as I'd like to be, I guess, before making a decision one way or the other.
Hi, this is Paul Kazmarzik. I'm not familiar with the ins and outs of the policy, but I do have one question, and that is, you talk about certification. is this certifying that you have a certain amount of cover with the cover crop in the spring? Or is this, also, how many pounds per acre of X are you planting for the cover crop? I mean, is it the planting and cover crop that you're certifying?
Paul, good question. This is Craig Albrecht. So in the case of cover crop, there's the NRCS standard and specifications for it, and they have all those details, and that's what they're certifying. And then we provide additional guidance for that within the soil health policy, particularly for cover crops of, what stage right after planting in the spring and so on. And then for the other soil health practices, right, they have their own criteria within the standards that the district staff person would be planning out the project for, and then certifying once it was implemented.
Thank you, Greg.
Yep.
Well, obviously the system has been working in Orange County with Kevin being certifying it, because I know they do a lot of cover crop. So I personally would like to delay a month, put more thought process into it, and to find out, can we grandfather in some of these people who have been already doing it for significant amount of time, and look at it again next month before we make a final decision.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Common sense should outweigh a lot of red tape, if you ask me.
When we deal with the federal government, that isn't always the rules.
No, I worked for USDA, FSA. I know all about the stupid rules.
Is that okay, all the other voting members? I know Matt's okay. Darren and Scott, you think wait 1 month and do a more process of thought into it first?
Yeah, I think we should look into it a little bit deeper.
Yeah, because nobody's going to be certifying cover crop for quite a while yet. At least not where you guys are.
Well, Bethany, you can get us a copy of the policy so we can.
Yep. Absolutely.
So what would be inventorying districts across the state as to what their capabilities are in regards to who has CCA planners and whatnot? Or?
Yeah, that's a good question. We'll get that information to the voting members too, as well as state committee staff.
Thank you. Appreciate the help, everybody.
Absolutely.
If that's enough on that, Bethany, you want to move on to the next section?
Well, I have another letter to share with the state committee that came to our Division of Land and Water Resources from the Eastern Finger Lakes Watershed Coalition. It was sent by Doug Kearst, who is the Executive Director of the Cayuga County Soil and Water. This letter is to inform you that 11 soil and water conservation districts, including Cayuga, Chemung, Cortland, Onondaga, Ontario, Schuyler, Seneca, Steuben, Tompkins, Wayne, and Yates, have signed a memorandum of understanding to form the Eastern Finger Lakes Coalition. This coalition will provide a mechanism for conservation districts to cooperatively implement conservation and improve natural resources on lands, both public and private, within the Eastern Finger Lakes watershed. It is intended to strengthen, support, and build on local soil and water conservation district programs, not to replace the successful programming being provided to communities by soil and water conservation districts. The watershed consists, the Eastern Finger Lakes watershed consists of watersheds of Cayuga, Keuka, Seneca, Canandaigua, Owasco, Skaneateles, Atisco, Onondaga Lakes, and the Seneca River Erie Canal within the 11 counties. The authority to make this MOU is found in the New York Soil and Water Conservation District's law. And to justify the formation of this coalition, there is a need to address non-point source issues of pollution in the watershed by a host of dedicated professionals, and the conservation of natural resource and land use issues are generally best addressed in the watershed, and the public benefits from addressing agricultural, flooding, erosion, wetlands, stormwater, wildlife, invasive species, and other issues in the watershed. And a regional approach provides for the formation of a network of water quality professionals, agencies, academics, and non-governmental organizations. The Eastern Finger Lakes Coalition will use the MOU to support all relevant aspects of local, state, and federal watershed and water quality efforts that are consistent with the work that conservation soil and water districts currently specialize in. The Cayuga County Soil and Water Conservation District will take the lead for entering into contracts on behalf of the coalition, but that certainly does not preclude other districts from administering contracts, hiring staff, etc. At this point, currently there is no funding available to support the Eastern Finger Lakes Coalition. However, their goal is to seek and obtain funding to support existing soil and water conservation district programming and the coordination and sharing of resources through a program administrator, engineering staff, local field staff, and BMP implementation efforts. And then also, just for clarification, that was a bit of a summary of the letter, but the full letter was shared with all of the voting members in advance of this meeting. At a future state committee meeting, I would like the voting members to consider passing a resolution to support this watershed coalition. This is something that we have done in the past when the Genesee River Coalition was formed. And I think it would be appropriate here also to pass a resolution from the state committee supporting this coalition.
Hooray.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Wonderful news.
Yeah, exactly. You want us to support it today, or do you want to do it in a future meeting? I guess I missed that.
I think in a future meeting, yeah, would be most appropriate.
Okay.
That way we
That'd be
can
great.
perhaps coordinate with the coalition members, and have them present on the MOU, and be a real feature in the agenda. So at a future meeting, I'd like to consider that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Proposed executive budget?
Yes, so we have not had a state committee meeting since the proposed executive budget was announced, but it was announced on January 16th. The Environmental Protection Fund, which supports all or most of the state committee programming, is maintained at $400 million again this year within that EPF executive budget. Soil and water conservation districts, specifically the state aid program, is proposed with a $2 million increase over the fiscal year 2024 levels for a total of $18 million. This is a testament and recognition of the incredible work that districts do. The proposed budget also includes a number of different highlights. I'll just pull out a couple. There's a proposed allocation of $19 million for the agricultural non-point source pollution control program, which includes some carve-outs. There is also proposed $15.25 million for the Climate Resilient Farms program, which includes $500,000 for the Cornell Soil Health Program. Further on down the budget, there is the Water Quality Improvement Program has a proposed allocation of $21 million And within that line item, there was a specific carve out for the Eastern Finger Lakes Coalition of approximately 1.2 million. So the budget is, I think, currently going through the process of through the state legislature, a process, and will hopefully be approved in April. So we will see and report back to the committee at that time.
Great, thank you. Next, does anyone have any questions for Bethany on the budget? Next on our agenda is subcommittee updates. Bethany and Greg.
All right, so I am going to kick things off here with just an update on the Technical Advisory Committee. We met at the end of January, on January 29th, and discussed a number of different topics. At the January 29th TAC meeting, I had intended to provide an updated role and function for the Technical Advisory Committee. However, was not prepared to do so at that meeting, so we did table that for a future TAC. But I did present to advisory members the draft 2024-2028 New York State Soil and Water Conservation Committee strategic plan, and shared the various sections with them and highlighted the proposed changes. At that meeting, we reviewed the introduction section, our statement of values, the vision for future, as well as the 5 strategic goals that are currently drafted in the plan. We recorded several different comments from CDEA, Department of Health, and we had a lot of great discussion on moving that plan forward. The strategic plan was also shared with soil and water conservation districts for review and feedback. And at that meeting, I requested that if any advisory member or soil and water conservation district for that matter had any feedback or comments to share with me regarding the strategic plan, those need to be provided to me by February 23rd. My intention is to present a final draft of the soil and water, or of the strategic plan to this committee in March. In addition to the strategic plan discussion, Jennifer Clifford also presented to the group on the draft Round 8 Climate Resilient Farming RFP and shared where we were with proposed changes that will be incorporated into the next round of funding. Again, we talked additionally about the federal funds that will be offered through the program, and at that time explained that those federal funds would be offered in separate tracks to provide flexibility to districts. We made some clarifications regarding the soil health or the soil testing requirements, the CPA 52 requirements, and discussed track 4 of the agricultural forest management in some more detail. We addressed some questions from advisory members regarding specific items, soil and manure testing, as well as some questions regarding how the scoring works, specifically for track 2 projects. And in January, we committed to finalizing the draft of the RFP and presenting it to the state committee in February. However, as Brian explained earlier this morning, we ran into an unexpected road bump, I guess, and so we will be postponing that for today. We rounded out the TAC meeting at the end of January with a discussion of the forestry, agroforestry BMP system and the Ag BMP catalog, which I'll kind of pause there because it leads us into our next sub-bullet and pass things off to Greg Albrecht.
Awesome. Thanks, Bethany. Thanks, everybody. So today we wanted to bring the draft of the BMP systems catalog that now includes a draft forestry and agroforestry system, which is new, for a short description here this morning based out of the TAC, and then consideration for approval of the updated BMP systems catalog. So we started back in October, where we formally released a first draft of a new forestry and agroforestry BMP system to districts and voting members and partners for their review and reaction. And then we had a good discussion about that at the October TAC. And then at the November State Committee meeting, there was more discussion, and really became clear that there was more opportunities to clarify and articulate and think through the approaches, particularly when it came to forester certifications and when and where they were required. And so we did that over the last couple months with more discussion on the side, outside of formal meetings, and collecting those and redrafting. Brought that to the TAC in January, like Bethany just mentioned, and that brings us here today with those final revisions for consideration. This is a system, and I'll start to share my screen here. That expands on our area of work that we were currently sort of bootstrapping into our current BMP systems. The last of which I should mark that were updated in June of 2023, primarily through the state committee's approval, primarily to adopt some updates to the construction stormwater details. So this is the full catalog, and I'll just tour through a couple of the major changes that are linked to this new system. First off, we'll go to the forestry agroforestry system and expand that. Hopefully folks can see that okay, and if you need a little more, let me know, or I think there's some controls on your own screen. So this allows us to do right out in the open and with clarity, excuse me, direct work in forested systems, existing forest lands, or on lands where there's an interest in planting trees for afforestation and the benefits that come with that. And you can see in the description there's a priority on enhancing the growth of trees, either by, improving regeneration of existing ones and growth of existing ones in forest lands for carbon sequestration, or tree planting for carbon sequestration, but not to lose sight of all the other co-benefits that come along when we improve the growth of trees, regardless of the means. It takes the standard, we've been through this before, so I won't belabor things here, Bethany, and keep the meeting going too much, but it takes the standard format of all of our other BMP systems that are used in our program to assemble individual NRCS conservation practices for full treatment of solutions out on farms based on plans. There are some noteworthy elements here in the system description, which, relative to those that were out in the fall, and especially the one that was reviewed at the January TAC, the content hasn't changed, but the descriptions are clearer and more accessible and more technical and give more detail. So I appreciate all the people who, primarily from districts who have forestry skills, that weighed in and helped us there. So similar to prior drafts, in the system description, we've laid out 4 scenarios just as a for example of where the system could be applied and some of the details of it. And certainly this is just the starting point, right? And it's supported by training that district foresters are leading at both the Water Quality Symposium and the Conservation Skills Workshops, and from time to time in between, on helping us all up our game on various forestry silviculture work. So the first one is tree planting on open lands. The next scenario we overview is tree planting for agroforestry purposes. So that might be a scenario where I'm converting cropland into a perennial system that includes maybe a nut orchard or something like that, forest farming pursuit, right? So that's the difference between just straight aforest on open lands, which in common to many of us might look like an extensive riparian forest buffer, where it's just trees over the converted acres. The next one is what I'll describe as a switch in existing land, so not open lands, but instead existing forest lands. And here's one where there's an explicit requirement for a forester. So if we're doing proper forestry silvicultural work in existing forest lands, a forester is required. And we'll get into the refinements and clarifications of what it means to be a forester in just a bit. The last for example scenario, if you will, in here is one that we've operated since we started in the area of work in forests deliberately through AIM and with the catalog, and that's for soil and water conservation work in forest lands. That's been kind of our minimum entry bar of taking those soil and water conservation skills that districts have and bringing them into forest lands on farms to aid in soil and water management, right? And certainly we've seen district foresters take that to the next step of not just doing the soil and water conservation work, but also then layering in silvicultural practices as well, because they have that skill set. So all these things can be stacked and put together. We just thought it would be good to, since this is fairly new, to put together some more detailed scenarios. All right, so what's a forester? That's been a thoroughly discussed topic over the last few months, and I really appreciate the thoughtfulness. Not full agreement on that, but I think this is a really good starting point here. And we have two options articulated here. One is certification, and there's two certifications that would be locally documented as having a forester, and one is you're a Society of American Foresters certified forester, or you're an NRCS technical service provider for forest management planning and various forestry practices. Both of those require the education and experience and are bundled up and documented in those certifications. So that's why that's a very clear option. The next one is, well, I'm not certified with either of those, but I have the education and experience. And I appreciate the help of those who guided us through the Society of American Foresters protocols and accreditations to be able to define these two. So in option two, it's a combination of an education and experience. And option 2A here is I've got an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree from an SAF accredited degree program. And they list, the SAF lists those accredited programs. And then there's experience that comes along with that. So associate's degree in 4 years of forestry experience, or bachelor degree in 2 years of experience. And those that guidance and those criteria, I should say, in the SAF link there would be used by the board and district to locally determine whether that individual meets the education and experience. Again, to do formal forestry and silvicultural work, whether that's in forest lands or in this scenario, which is probably minor to the forest lands, where the predominant mode of afforestation on open lands is through natural regeneration. All right, the second combo of education experience is, well, you know, what if I have a forester on my staff at a district and they didn't attend an SAF accredited degree program? Well, then we can lean on the guidance of what an SAF accredited degree program requires based on this link of coursework and the 56 credit hours that go into having that important educational technical foundation that then supports an experience component as well, which is the same as above: 4 years with an associate's, 2 years with a bachelor's degree. So again, really appreciate the thoughtfulness and the input on this. I think there's something for many applications and many staff to do quality work out there and gain experience while not while safeguarding against problems which might take, you know, decades to reverse if you know, bad recommendations are made in, for instance, existing forest lands, right? We want to build and maintain relationships and do good things, and not the contrary. So that's the forestry agroforestry system that would be a brand new addition into the catalog. I'll pause there if there are any questions, particularly from the voting members. And then there's one more piece, a linkage to the grazing system. I'll catch Bethany before I yield the mic.
So obviously you wouldn't want silvopasturing where you're trying to establish trees, but I know several years ago silvopasturing was a practice that was kind of being pushed, and I noted that in the BMP for established forest, it's not applicable. And I guess I'm curious, is that a practice that people are kind of backing away from now, or has there been some problems, disasters? What's the story with that?
Good question, Matt. I'll get to how we're proposing to address it here in 2024. But, you know, I think it is of interest by landowners, right? And I know several districts see it and get asked about it. When we talk to them and talk to partner experts in this area, it takes intensive management. I think Brett Chetzoy describes, I'm going to miss some professions here, but you need to be a forester, an agronomist, a professional engineer. He's sort of joking here, but not really, right? And a very dedicated, you know, management intensive that really, you know, excites you in the management of grazer to be able to do this well. And certainly, we see examples of those, right? And we've been fortunate to have a few trainings over the last year on such farms. But I think there's a recognition that, you know, there aren't enough of those examples around. There aren't enough farmers who can talk to other farmers about how intensive that is. We're still building capacity on being able to train that and ourselves be confident to be able to ensure that introducing livestock into existing forest lands is going to result in only benefits, not a degradation of that land. And that's sort of also in the context of, if you think about how the lands that have been afforested over the last century or so in New York, you know, sort of did so with a reason, and we kept the ground that was open for a reason. So they tend to be on soils that aren't as good, maybe more susceptible to erosion and runoff, so higher risk sites, right? And so it takes a lot of care to bring livestock in to do that and to meet multiple goals, obviously including farm production, but as well as environmental management. So that's kind of like the baseline check where we're at in 2024 and in the context of state committee programs and technical guidance.
So the practice is there. It's not really pushed, I guess. It's still being sort of experimental. Is that?
Yeah, even
way to put it?
It's a simple way to say it. Clear, simple way to say it. Yeah, and to the degree that NRCS in New York has not adapted a national silvopasture conservation practice standard.
Yeah, I was curious about that too. Yeah.
Yep. And don't include it in their work, right?
Okay.
So the approach we're taking then, that's why this update to the catalog includes a modest addition to our long-running prescribed rotational grazing system, and that's the text highlighted in yellow there. So component PPs that support silvopasture may be used in prescribed rotational grazing systems where trees will be planted within or immediately adjacent to existing pastures or open lands being converted to pastures. So a much different pursuit if we're introducing trees into existing pasture systems or future pasture systems on open land, right? That's a different story than me looking to expand my grazing land acres into my existing forest lands, right? So that's the opportunity for us to apply silvopasture, and it would be done through the prescribed rotational grazing system. Organizing something in a tier 3A plan, and then later maybe for a proposal. And you'll see that there's a note, just to be clear, that this is not currently applicable to implementation of grazing silvopasture within existing forest lands for the reasons we talked about a minute ago. So it's not a never ever thing, but
right. Well, and that's kind of what I was curious about, is that if it was something that was still being explored and sort of fine tuned, or whether it was something that everybody backed away from and said this doesn't work.
Always interested and able to update. Just for that stack of reasons right now, we're not ready to back it with our programs.
Right.
Except in the case, and there's some neat things, and I think this is gonna, I would venture bet, Caitlin, this is gonna be a part of our conservation skills workshop, where there's introduction of trees into existing grazing systems. So.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
I partner reached out and I connected her with Tom Eskelton. So we'll see where that goes. All right, that's the news that's fit to print on the update of the BMP systems catalog, where if it's approved, it would get a February 2024 date on it, and then we would share it out to districts, put it on our Ag and Markets website and the AIM page, as well as on SharePoint for use in future programs. So think CRF 8, Ag Non-Point Source 30, and in particular, and this is the one that's closest here, even in AIM 18, as districts are working on their Tier 4 implementation project submittals for May 1st. I know it's a tight squeeze there, but I just wanted to note that's okay. If you'd been working on a forest plan of some type and this would be applicable, please use it for AIM 18. And with that, Bethany, I think that's my presentation on that, unless you see something that could use refinement, and open to questions or consideration for approval.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. Maybe just really quick before we move to approval, if we could just quickly summarize maybe some of the concerns that we heard back in November, and that hopefully the changes that we have made are will address some of those in a more compromising fashion.
Yeah. So some of it was, I think, a symptom of a lot going on, right? And, lots of words here, and just maybe misinterpretation, right? Oh, no, a forester everywhere for this? That's going to really take the potential for more districts to do work in planting trees and, off the table, right? So no, that wasn't the intention, but there are some scenarios where afforestation on scrub grounds, really does require the use of a forester, and that's where the predominant mode of afforestation is natural regeneration of desired tree species that are in that scrubby open land already, right? But for all instances where they're planting trees on open land, that's up to the common, underpinning of many things that districts do. Am I trained and competent to do this type of work? And if the answer is yes, we would always recommend using a buddy, but just continue to hone skills. Like with the CCA example, if you're not a CCA and you can partner with a CCA to do that, that's going to be good professional development in and of itself, right? So same thing here with partnering with a forester. So kind of a middle ground compromise there of tree planting without the need for a certified forester. Now, I will say, right, that's where the training really comes in. That there'll be training. There'll be two workshops in the Water Quality Symposium, and as has been perennial the last few years, other workshops at the Con Skills Workshop on forestry, afforestation, tree planting. It's really been underscored by many the importance of site assessment and planning. So, what am I going into this open land that seems to have an opportunity, an interested landowner, an interested farmer for some kind of, afforestation work, and getting a sense for what resources are already there. And, if that's a skill set that I feel weak on, I should feel compelled to reach out to help, get some help so that I do that well. And we know what direction to take for the tree planting project, for instance, right? So I think a lot of it was, hey, where can you be a little clearer there, Greg, and the state committee on when a forester is required and not explicitly required, and we think that's decently addressed here. Other pieces were clarifications about what a forester is, and this is a much clearer approach than, I'll say, the version that we first floated out in October. And then the last bits were really good catches of old language that I just neglected to take out from in some of these other sections, and clarifications of these scenarios. What are you really talking about there? What and such, I guess, Bethany.
Thanks, Greg. I appreciate you recapping those.
Yep.
I think it's just helpful for some of the new folks in the room to understand what kind of the issues were back in November, and how they were addressed.
Yeah, and I think we're in a little bit of a scenario here where there's some peace and comfort with it, but it's a compromise, right? So it's not perfect for everybody or anybody, I should say, right? There are compromises in it, but a good starting point that when we live and learn with, we can update. And part of this also is allows an opportunity for gaining experience in this type of work, and it's supported with an expanding capacity in of having foresters on staff with districts, and it's definitely and very deliberately connected to the enhanced funding that a district can pursue if they have an SAF forester on staff, for instance, through the AIM-based program. So very, sort of deliberate, trying to take a holistic approach to supporting the advancement of forestry work among districts. Or at least give that opportunity, right? If that's a local priority for them.
Thanks, Greg. Anybody else have any questions for Greg before we go to a motion? Could I get a motion to approve the updated BMP system catalog, particularly to forestry agri-systems, please?
I make a motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. We'll go to voting. Darren?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Approved. Thank you very much. Thanks for all the work, Greg and Bethany. Next on our agenda is the State Program Advisory Committee.
Bethany, I think that's back to me. So on February 20th, we had our second State Program Advisory Committee, and it's a new committee to support the State Soil Water Conservation Committee's work, and its role is to be a committee made up of state committee staff and soil and water conservation districts to discuss programs and seek feedback in that forum, gather program ideas, debate them, hone them, and then identify priority focus areas, perhaps for support funding for our cost share programs or technical assistance programs. We're starting off with a goal, and so far we've met it. Seems to be a pretty good rhythm of meeting every other month. Happens to be the opposite month of the CDEA's meetings. So that's a good sort of regular series of contact with that. And right, Bethany and Caitlin will live and learn and adjust if we need to based off of that. So on the agenda for February 20th, and I'm going to give pretty basic summaries of these, and I welcome any of the program points on state committee staff or Caitlin, to layer in if you'd like to add a little more detail to them. But Jennifer Clifford provided a Climate Resilient Round 8 update. This was before the meeting that was had with USDA that led to the change in plans for today. But she articulated, right, the $29 million funding opportunity coming up across 4 tracks using state and federal funds, ranging from track 1 for manure management practices with the goal of mitigating methane and also other co-benefits. Track 2 for adaptation resiliency, 3 focused on soil health, and then the new track 4 for ag forest management and afforestation, AKA carbon sequestration. And, that's also part of the strategic design, if you will, of the forestry and agroforestry BMP system that you just approved. So thanks for helping us you take that step forward and put that block in the foundation. The next topic was led by Brian Steinmuller, and it was about the CAFO Enhanced Nutrient and Methane Management Program. This has been reported on before, but just to recall, that's we were given authority to reallocate funds from the older CAFO Waste Storage and Transfer Program that was altogether from the 2017 Clean Water Infrastructure Act, and to allocate still by the legislated budget language to CAFO farms for water quality and climate priorities. And there's approximately $21 million available for that. And so Brian teed up a number of questions and considerations for discussion. And the topics of those range for caps or no caps. And you recall in the old CAFO program, we had funding caps. I think that's a pretty clear one of not having caps this time around. Discussion of eligible best management practices to mitigate methane and improve water quality or enhance water quality. What's an appropriate number of rounds of funding to release? The timing. Some of that is a little bit baked in because of governor and department priorities to release the RFP in June for Dairy Month. So that starts the clock ticking. But then the question of, for how long do we leave the RFP open to be most compatible and helpful, for instance, with our other rounds of funding like CRF 8. Cost share percentages, since we have some flexibility to operate with that. And we're talking about many of which can be expensive practices and some of which, maybe can be challenged by motivation at this point. Others certainly not, and are of high interest. Separators and drag hose systems as examples of seemingly high interest from farmers in the field, and a mixed reaction on cover and flare systems, right? But I think we're all living and learning with that together. And then questions of what the review and ranking process might be like. And this dovetails back to the discussion about eligible practices. Different than the rollout of the CAFO Waste Storage and Transfer System. This is, the discussion on the table is it looks more like the latest round of CRF like 7's track 1, where it has a range of manure management practices and precision feeding practices that mitigate methane, nitrous oxide, as well as enhance water quality. So, kind of begs the question of how do we review and rank those in an attempt to model a somewhat similar approach to what we did with the CAFO Waste Storage, where it was a very quantitative review. A little more challenging when you have a greater diversity of practices available for funding, though. The last topic that was brought forward was led by Bethany, and a quick summary of the 2022 Environmental Bond Act. Several state committee staff have been involved with weekly or sub-weekly meetings with other state agencies of how that will start to be implemented. And the first step in that is we've been asked to identify existing state committee programs that could be enhanced through Bond Act funding. So that leads us to the naturals for water quality that we've had, and that's Agnon, Point Source, and Aim Base. And then future discussions and developments would then task us with thinking about new programs beyond our existing ones, if that seems efficient and would bring other opportunities, right? And there continues to be a really good idea, being put forth. And I think CDEA mentioned this as well during the meeting and underscored it about developing non-ag, non-point source cost share programs, sort of as a complement to our AEM, Ag Non-Point Source CRF, under the AIM umbrella, agricultural conservation focused programs. Bethany, if I'm capturing this correctly, we as agencies, all of us participating in this, right, for our own programs, will need to establish Bond Act eligibility guidelines and make them available for public comment. And that's sort of simply put, who are the eligible sponsors, soil and water conservation districts, what practices are eligible in this. This is a bond, so bondable practices, so that kind of leads toward the construction of structural practices. And I guess I welcome Bethany to further refine any of that, or Jennifer or Brian on the prior two topics. The last part of business for the day was to set the next meeting, and that's April 29th, 2024.
Thanks, Greg. You summarized the Bond Act portion pretty well. It was just kind of a brief update I wanted to provide to the group on where things are currently with what we've been trying to work on. And at this point, we've identified the Ag Non-Point Source Program as well as AEM as potential programs that could be further expanded, I guess, in terms of available funds through the use of Bond Act funding from within the water quality category of the Bond Act. So just as you said, the next step in this process is to develop those eligibility guidelines, and those get put out for a 30-day public comment period. And then from there, I'm not entirely sure what the next step is, I guess, but that's when we start to work on building it into the program and figuring all that stuff out.
I've got nothing to add on the people enhanced nutrient methane management. That was a great summary. Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, everyone. That was great. Next on our agenda is Tyler with the Ag Non-Point and CRF year-end report.
Great, thanks, Dal. For those that may have joined since introductions, my name's Tyler Knapp. I'm a program analyst here at the State Committee / Ag and Markets. And bear with me, pulling up my PowerPoint here. And today I'm going to run through essentially the great work that our New York State conservation districts and our farmers are doing to preserve water quality and pretty much the environment in general, right? So this is very much similar to the 2022 report. Queried out the data that we have from last year and updated all the figures and stuff like that. How do I see my notes? Nope. Okay, well, we'll roll with it. So a couple of discussion points for today. I'm going to highlight CRF updates and Ag Non-Point, and that's going to be kind of the breakdown of best management practices that were implemented, participants, and kind of just a snapshot of the more specifics and a couple figures to go along with that. Additionally, some success stories from districts, some photos to show of some of the projects. We're a little behind schedule, so I will try to run through as best as I can. And then some of the environmental effects to go along with those. So this is combined right here, so CRF and Ag Non-Point 2023, so completed contracts within that time frame. We had 64 completed contracts. That included 22 soil and water conservation districts, almost 360 district staff members, over 26,000 implementation hours, which is quite significant. And that encompassed over 100 sub-watersheds, so 100 plus HUC 12s, which is quite amazing. Total state funds, just about $14.5 million. 13.4 was associated just to BMP costs, so the implementation of the specific BMPs, and 1.2 million for kind of engineering, SWCD time, and those types of things. Almost $800,000 in sponsor investment, and that could include maybe local funding from maybe cities or watersheds and stuff like that, or the district itself, and $12.2 million in landowner investments coming directly from the farms for the projects. That could also include NRCS funds as well, and I think I have a slide that kind of breaks that down a little bit as well. Sorry, go ahead.
Those 26,000 implementation hours, is that just district staff time?
So,
is that?
no, that's a good point to clarify. So that could include engineer time, private consultant, which isn't too frequent, and potentially some NRCS or Cornell extension time. But for the most part, I didn't split that out, but I could. But that still a lot of time.
Yeah, yeah, in 1 year.
Well,
The vast majority would be district time too.
The vast majority is definitely district time. And to clarify, it's not just 1 year. This could have taken 3 years to implement this project, but it's kind of a snapshot of what we're looking at. So 64 projects, 95 farms, and we're looking at 560 conservation practices. Quite significant. I did not break down the specifics here, but it was very much in line with last year, which is interesting. So as we start to go through more years and I start to do this annually, we might get a better picture of what's happening year to year, because things fluctuate. COVID didn't help, but it is interesting to see that it is kind of on target and tracking year to year. 14 plus projects with NRCS match and 6 projects with local district match. There could be much more NRCS match in there. It's what's specifically documented on the form. So as we get better at tracking that type of stuff, my numbers and figures will get better on that end as well. The average contract amount, oddly very similar to last year, just about $220,000. And then I have the breakdown just underneath that. So the state cost share itself was about $230,000, which was about 53%. The average sponsor share for the implementation was $12,000, and the landowner share was about $192,000. So I just kind of averaged those just to kind of get a visual of what was happening. And then the total project cost was about $433,000. So that includes all of those: the state cost share, the sponsor, and the landowner. And if anybody has any questions, this can be very much fluid. I can stop, I can pause. So feel free to unmute and ask questions.
I'm surprised
So
the landowner shares are that big, percentage-wise. Yeah, average
Yeah,
landowner
that's a good
share, 192,000. I didn't think it'd be 45%, but that's pretty big.
Well, I think as our programs are getting more competitive, I think they're realizing that they might actually have to put forth more dollars to actually rank well. So I think that could be a result of that.
Well, and also sometimes the applications will come in with a higher state share percentage and a lower like landowner share, but over the course of the project, they might get additional funding or project costs go up, and so then the landowner has to contribute more, and ultimately ends up with a final percentage being what it is on the screen.
I would say 80% that come in, and when I do that final enter into the database, it's very much that scenario.
Yeah.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, no worries. So participant breakdown, I did this last year. I just find it interesting to kind of split out the programs and just kind of stare at it. I know it's a lot going on, and I can see Brian going nuts over there already. But it's just kind of an interesting concept to kind of look at year to year. So on the left side, that's the overall participation across both programs. And then on the right side, it's just kind of the breakdown of Ag, Non-Point, and CRF. It was interesting to note this year, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time, but dairy is still maintaining that high ranking, more of the lead participant across the programs, but quite the uptick in orchard/vineyards. I know I lumped them. Some people might yell at me for that, but I lumped them together, and there was quite a few closeouts with those participants. So that was interesting, and that's, I believe, on both. Not so much in CRF, but definitely in Ag Non-Point there. Overall, total across all of the participants, 112 different types of farms. 85 in Ag Non-Point and 27 in CRF. And just to preface real quick, this is specific to what was completed last year. So I just want to make sure to keep reiterating that. Go ahead, Brian.
Tyler, thank you. From your recollection, can you maybe break down the 15% other a little bit for CRF participation? What are we talking? This pretty big list already.
So to be, and maybe the regional guys can help me in the room because it actually comes in as other, so I don't really know.
Okay, all right, yeah.
But maybe it's like maybe alpaca or something like that. It would be my guess.
Okay.
Something that's not necessarily always common, but I do believe we have an other option in our farms. Maple, yeah, it could be maple. Sheep.
Yeah, I'm just thinking if we're seeing, that high level percentage in other, maybe we do want to try to quantify.
Start splitting it out.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you.
And yeah.
Good to see.
Okay, where's it? Why isn't it working?
I noticed when you pause too long.
Okay, wait, hang on.
Oh.
I don't know if I skipped one now. So this is just the breakdown of the best management and practice systems that were implemented last year. I don't have my notes, so I don't have the quick number in front of me, but there they are. And I also did update what I thought was the updated BMP catalog. However, I will update that link once that that new one is updated as well. And I think I split out the systems in a little bit more of a visual format here. So this is specific to last year, yet again. Waste storage and transfer systems is still in the lead, very similar to last year. However, in the next slide, you'll kind of see a comparison just to get kind of a snapshot of what is happening year to year. Significant uptick in riparian forest buffer systems last year, soil health systems, erosion control systems, the structural systems like WASCOBs, and prescribed grazing. So that was kind of the leaders of the systems last year. I believe there was 15 total systems, if I recall. Okay. What? Bear with me. The computer's having a Monday. So now this is the comparison from 2022 to 2023. So you can kind of see the blue was 2022, and then the orange was last year. So significant decrease, I suppose I would say, in waste storage and transfer systems. Quite the increase in riparian forest buffer systems. Small increase in soil health systems. And definite increases in prescribed grazing and erosion control systems. So, and everything else, again, I mean, it's kind of like a roller coaster. As projects are completed, I don't think we'll ever quite see an exact pattern from year to year, but it is just interesting to see some of, I guess, the practices or the systems that we're pushing through programs. We really are starting to see an uptick in those. This is a very busy slide, but this is the breakdown of the systems that were implemented and their units that I have in our database. I really wish I could see my notes because there's a few highlights that I wanted to kind of pull out here. Cover crops, over 6,000 acres of cover crops. Like I said, a lot of prescribed grazing practices such as fencing and stuff like that, and that could probably be in conjunction with some of the buffer stuff. but over 300,000 feet of fencing. I'm pretty sure I converted that to miles. I don't remember what it was, but I think it was like 80 some miles. It was crazy. What else? Pretty large amount of square footage of heavy use area protection, almost 281,000 square feet of that. Just kind of cruising through here to pull out some more examples. Riparian forest buffers, just over 100 acres of those, and I think if you were to put that in terms of a 30-foot buffer, that's probably like 28 to 30 miles of buffer along a stream. So it's quite good. A lot of water and sediment control basins, 17 of those. Waste storage facilities, 38 of those, but we closed 4 of those. And quite a few transfer systems as well. Oh man, this thing really doesn't like me. Okay. So jumping into kind of the environmental effects, this is just a slide to kind of reference where I'm drawing this data from or how I'm quantifying those numbers. And just to preface a little bit, they are definitely estimates. We don't have all the tools necessary to really do, I guess, the best job we possibly could, but as those develop, it'll only get better over time. So for NP and sediment, I'm relying on the CAS model, version 19, and there might actually be an update to that as well that I have to take into consideration for our tool. And then for some of the climate-related data, CO2e reductions, we're relying on Comet Planner 3.0. And I know there is an update to that with updated coefficients, so that's improving pretty much annually at this point.
Quick question.
Sure.
With the CAST model, through that tool, you have the ability to run that with all of our BMPs, or are there some that are kind of difficult to fit into that?
That's, yes. So it is difficult to fit some of those specific practices into a specific tool, because some of the tools like Comet, we don't really have, it's not really developed yet. Yeah. So, and that, it kind of gets into it. I'll go to the next slide. So like a good example of that is waste storage facilities 313. Like I don't have a specific reduction, or maybe it's not reducing some of our inputs, it might be adding. So it's just, it's very much estimates at this point. And hopefully over the next couple of years, the tools will get a little bit better and it'll be more inclusive in practices. So this is the estimated reductions. So the upper table there, the CAS reductions for NP and the sediment. So we're looking at just over 1 million pounds per year in nitrogen reductions. I meant to put that into more of a usable term, and such as loads or tractor trailer loads or something like that, but I totally forgot. But look for our annual report because we usually do it there. Sorry. And then for phosphorus, just over 200,000 pounds of phosphorus reduced in those practices implemented. Sediment, over 17 million pounds of sediment. There was quite the uptick in that reduction, and I think that was probably very much associated to the sediment basins that went in those types of practices. And then our CO2e, our metric tons, are just under 3,000 metric tons a year. And I did quantify those so they were a little bit more usable. So 2,700 metric tons of CO2e is roughly 600 passenger cars driven. So we're taking 600 cars off the road last year, or almost 7 million miles driven. So pretty significant. And then there's a couple other there as well. Oh, okay. I'm going to be jumping into project examples if you have a question. No. So I really like to highlight some of the good work that are doing with our farms. So I tried to throw in a few examples across the various programs of systems that were implemented. So this is Ontario's CRF Round 6. This was a manure and agricultural waste treatment system with a cover and a flare. I wish I had a few more details, but hopefully in future meetings we can actually draw some of the districts in and actually have them do a presentation on some of these projects, or any district that's interested in that. And regional guys, if you have specifics you want to chime in, feel free. This is Wyoming's Ag Non-Point Source Round 27. This was a livestock heavy use area runoff and management system, going from an uncovered kind of barnyard type situation to more of a covered barnyard with clean water diversion. Looks like there was quite a bit of runoff, potentially getting to a roadside ditch or something like that. And then really kind of a clean looking facility after. Livingston's CRF Round 6. This is a very large project. It looks like it was several erosion and control systems and structural practices. So several wascobs, a series of wascobs. I believe that water and sediment, or there might have been like a retention type scenario going on here where they're really preventing a lot of runoff going into an industrial type area. So a lot of landowners, a lot of work. I did put a comment from the district in there that may have been in their a report that they gave, or newsletter. So a series of 8 water and sediment control basins, strategically placed, engineered, requiring 4 separate landowners, result of a 9 million gallon stormwater detention pond, and providing significant relief to numerous commercial and residential properties in the immediately downstream. So looks like a major project.
Yeah, worth noting, immediately downstream is the village of Geneseo, which routinely receives high storm flows. And this project is meant to retain those storm flows in the upper watershed.
Track 2?
Correct.
Tompkins County Ag Non-Point Source Round 24. We have an ag waste storage and transfer system with silage, leachate control, and treatment. Looks like a great project. Fully concrete. Okay, and Jefferson's CRF project. This is a soil health system and just excellent looking cover crops that were implemented last fall. And I wish I could do all of the projects, but we probably would be here for quite a while. But I definitely appreciate all of the work that districts have put in this past year. It's quite amazing how many hours district folks, engineers, all of the above are spending, and even so our state committee staff, a lot of time and effort. If anybody has any questions, I can field those, and pun intended.
No question for me, but thank you for putting this report together, and especially going through the exercise of attempting to model out the impacts of the best management practices that were implemented. I know it's not exact, and we're still working on trying to find a better model, but I think it's important to start doing that and showing what impact we're having. And I know it's not a very quick activity, so I appreciate the time you put in to run in those numbers.
No worries.
Yeah, impressive, Tyler. It's I know there's no way to know, but it would have been nice to know how much of this work would have been done if our programs weren't here to help do it. It's just be a very tiny percent, I bet. Next on our agenda is Ag Non-Point Source. Bethany?
All right, back to me. Okay. Let me share the screen here. Just real quick, I'm not gonna make Tyler go through this, but he did put together a regular monthly program update. There's not really much that has changed from January. All of the round 29 contracts are still pending. They are out of our division's hands, and we have forwarded all 32 of them, or 33 of them, down to our fiscal office, and they're undergoing that process and going through the council review process. So hopefully it's, I guess as soon as possible, we will be able to get those out to districts for review and signature. But we do have several amendments, time extension amendments to present today to the state committee for consideration. Before I start going through the list, I just want to mention that this summary report that you're seeing on the screen, as well as the complete amendment request packets, were provided to the voting members in advance of this meeting. Just in the essence of time, I'll go through each one, but we'll just highlight that the reason for the request is on the screen. And then if there's any questions, we can address them, one by one. So the first time extension amendment that was submitted for consideration was from Allegheny County for a round 25 project. The current end date on this contract is February 20th of this year, 2024, and the district is looking to extend the contract for 1 year for a new end date of February 20th, 2025. The reason for the request is cited here on the screen. This contract has received one prior time extension, and this has been reviewed by Victor DiGiacomo, Region 1 AEA, and is referred to the state committee. Vic, do you have any thing you want to add here?
Not much, it's pretty well summarized. 2 farms with work still yet to be completed on this contract. One of those projects has broken ground in January this past month, so it's currently under construction. And the other project is currently out to bid and anticipated construction this spring.
Thank you.
Questions, comments, anyone? Motion to approve, please.
Move.
Second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. We'll go to voting. Matt?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Approved. Thank you. Next.
All right, the next one is also from Allegheny County for a second round 25 contract. Current end date is February 20th of this year, and they're looking to extend for another year for a new end date of February 20th, 2025. The reason for the request is cited here on the screen. This will be the second time extension for the contract, and the request was or is supported by Victor DiGiacomo, Region 1 AEA, and referred to the state committee.
This last project is also under construction, and the farm is just looking for a few extra months to get it completed in 2024.
Thank you. Any other further questions or comments, anyone? Motion, please.
So
Make
moved.
motion.
Moved and seconded. We'll go to voting. Karen?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Approved. Thank you. Next.
All right, next one is from Cattaraugus County for a round 24 project. The current end date for this project is June 30th of 2024. They are looking for a 1-year time extension for a new end date of June 30th, 2025. The reason for the request is cited here on the screen. This contract has received a approval for one landowner change and has received a previous time extension for this contract. The request is supported by Victor DiGiacomo, Region 1 AEA, but referred to the state committee. Anything additional here?
So last year we approved a landowner change. So there's essentially a new owner of the farm. That new owner intends to move forward with the project. Just needs a little more time to get that together.
When it says that it'll be rebid later, construction later, never mind. I misread it.
Yeah, it looked like there was maybe an issue with they had put it out to bid and didn't get the response they were hoping for. It seemed like the bids or the quotes, whatever they were getting, were much higher than the project budget. So I think it seems like the district's going to try to rebid it, see if they can't get some better prices.
Yeah, and I believe the original bids were actually bids sought by the original landowner. So they were looking to redo everything. Yeah.
Any questions, comments further, anyone? This one looks like they might not make it with the time extension, but we'll wait and see. Motion to approve, please.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Yeah, moved and seconded. Go to voting. Darren?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Approved. Thank you. Next.
All right, next, let me scroll down here. Moving on to Region 2. So I'll just save myself some time. All of the requests in the Region 2 section are supported by PJ Emmerich, our Region 2 AEA, and referred to the state committee. So the first one here is submitted by Onondaga County Soil and Water for a round 24 contract. It expired at the end of 2023, and they're looking for a one-year time extension to the end of 2024. The reason for the extension is cited here on the screen. And this would be the second time extension for this contract. Anything further to add, PJ?
No, thank you, Bethany. I think that covers it pretty well.
So the shareholders are debating each other rather than the public suing the shareholders? Is that?
No, I don't think it's.
It's significant opposition from the community and on the
Right,
location of
The
it.
project is currently being legally debated between the shareholders.
Maybe stakeholders is what that should
That's
say.
that's what I wondered if that was. I found it surprising.
Yeah, it should be the stakeholders, because I know in that area there is resistance.
Just curious, but I had a few of these over the years. So how contentious is this? Is it a case where the neighbors would go to court over it?
I think so. Yeah. I do. It's been pretty hot.
Have they got other good options, or?
They're considering other options with their engineer, so there are some possible opportunities, but it's really dependent on whether or not they can get this extension, and they really want it to go where it's originally planned. So it depends on what the community's gonna do.
Not due to its location, the community it's in, they've had issues from day one on the original location and then the secondary location. And it's a fairly large farm. To not have a storage is a problem. I question if they're going to be able to get it built or not with the opposition. I think we need to give them time to try to legally figure out what they can and can't do in that community. And it's due to its location on very close to lake and water and everything. They have issues, but it's not too late yet for us to continue extending it, in my view, in order to give them time to try to work this out.
Yeah, I guess my main concern was, is there a possible solution? You know, I'm not opposed to an extension, I guess I was just wondering is there a light at the end of the tunnel or not?
Yeah, Matt, our ag protection unit's got this as a case.
I figured
We've been
that.
working with the county and the stakeholders involved, and you know, there would be no option if we let this contract expire, right? So
Right.
one thing we can control here is to extend and hope that there's a suitable location and option for the storage in that general vicinity.
So they have no storage now?
This is a satellite.
Satellite. Okay.
Yeah. There is storage at the farm, but you know, this would substantially increase their nutrient management options within that particular area of the farm and the fields that they work.
It's hard to make the public understand.
And they're working through it, but nobody knows what the future will hold with the opposition. But like Brian said, our ag protection is looking into working with the district and the farm.
There's also an active easement in the area, which is also restricting the setting and location of the storage.
And I don't personally want the committee to be the reason the project has not moved forward. That I want them to work out a solution in their community. And by us saying we can't extend it, it might stop their ability to do it. And I'd rather have them work out a solution in the community to get this built. Any further questions, anyone? Discussion? Motion, please.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Thank you. Go to voting. Matt?
Aye.
Darren?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Approved. Thank you. Next.
The next extension also comes from Onondaga Soil and Water for a round 25 contract that expired at the end of last year. They're requesting a one-year time extension for a new end date of December 31st, 2024. The particular project that was funded through this contract is designed, but the landowner is trying to seek additional funding through USDA, the EQIP program. So this would also be their second time extension for this contract.
Comments, PJ?
Anything?
No, nothing. Just waiting on the federal funding side of things.
Further discussion, questions, anyone? Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. We'll go to voting. Matt?
Aye.
Darren?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Thank you. Approved. Next.
All right, next one comes to us from Ontario County for a round 24 project that expired at the end of 2023. The district is only looking for a 6-month time extension to June 30th of 2024. The reason for the request is cited on the screen. This would be their third time extension, but in reviewing the amendment packet and the justification here, I believe the project is just very near to completion, but similar to some of the other ones, ran into some delays with right-of-way consideration that kind of held up the final stages of the project. Anything additional, PJ?
No, that says it all right there. Just working through partners with DOT and getting some right-of-way stuff settled, and they are pretty close to being done, so that extension should be plenty of time to finish it all up.
Questions, comments, anyone?
It's unlikely that they would deny it, but they're just having to work through some of the red tape with DOT is the way I understand it. So I don't think they'll say no to it.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of getting the application stuff together. I know that's what the district was working on.
Motion, please.
So moved.
Second? Thank you. Voting, Matt,
Aye.
Darren,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
approved. Thank you. Next.
Next is also from Ontario County. This is for a round 25 project that expires February 20th of 2024. The district is looking to extend it to October 20th, 2024. The reason for the request is cited on the screen here, and this would be the second time extension for this contract. Anything additional, PJ?
Just the wet area that they're talking about, the bore, I've been out there to see that one, and the area that they're trying to bore is just, it's real wet. So they're hoping in the summer it'll dry up at least enough so the boring contractor can actually do the job right. But really the boring contractor is nervous about the water that's in there. So they think in the summer months it'll dry up good enough where you can get it done.
Questions, comments, anyone?
I couldn't resist.
Motion, please.
I'll move.
And a second?
Second.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Go to voting. Matt,
Aye.
Darren,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
approved. Thank you. Next.
All right, so the remaining 3 time extension requests are from Region 4. So all of these are supported by Ryan Cunningham, Region 4 AEA, and referred to the state committee. The first one is from Essex County for a round 26 project that is set to expire on June 30th, 2024. The district is looking for a 1-year time extension for a new end date of June 30th, 2025. Reason for the request is here on the screen. This would be the first time extension for this contract. Any additional thing you want to add, Ryan?
Just that they were revising some of the engineering and final location, and that was part of the delay.
Questions, comments, anyone? Motion, please.
I'll make a motion.
And a second, then? Moved and seconded. Thank you. Voting. Matt,
Aye.
Darren,
Aye.
Scott, approved. Thank you. Next.
Scroll down here. Next is from Franklin County for a round 24 project. This will expire on March 1st of 2024, and the district is looking for a 1-year time extension to March 1st of 2025. Reason for the request is shown on the screen, and this would be the second time extension for this contract.
Questions, comments, anyone? Can we get a motion, please?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Thank you. Voting. Matt,
Aye.
Darren,
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Moved. Thank you. Next.
All right, and this is our last time extension, and it was submitted by Lewis County Soil and Water for a round 24 contract that expires on March 1st. They are looking to extend the contract to December 1st of 2024. The reason for the request is shown on the screen, and this would be the second time extension for the contract.
Questions,
Anything additional
comments,
you wanna
anyone?
Pretty significant start on the project already, so they're just looking for this final construction season.
Anyone else, comments, questions? Motion, please.
So move.
Second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Go to voting. Matt?
Right.
Darren?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Approved. Thank you. Is that all of them, Bethany?
That is all of the Ag non-point source amendments that I have for you all today. Thank you. Are there any other questions about Ag non-point source in general?
Next on our program is Jennifer with CRF.
Thanks, Dale. And thank you, Tyler, for that great presentation earlier. That was really cool. So this is an update of snapshot of just CRF update in the last of all the rounds. Not too many changes. Round 7 plan of works are coming in still and being reviewed. And round 8, we've discussed that we're working on the RFP. And I don't have any amendments for consideration today, so unless there are any questions, that's all I have to share.
Anyone, questions for Jennifer?
Just quickly note round 7 status, working on contracts, right?
Yeah, plan of work are coming in, we're reviewing them, yeah, the procurement record is, we've received questions, so that's under actual review with OSC right now, so we're moving closer to contracting.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Next is advisory staff and voting member reports. Darren, do you have anything?
I don't believe so. Our legislative days are coming up next week. That's for Farm Bureau. That's about it. It'll coinciding with the, the snow and water days. So that's about it.
Excellent. I'll turn it over to you, Bethany.
Scott, you have anything to report?
No, just be partnering with Farm Bureau legislative days, and we'll be at Tyson, New York on Monday evening.
All right. And Matt, do you have any reports for the group today?
Well, actually, a couple things. If we can get a building permit from the town, the district's gonna start construction on a new office building this spring.
Oh, cool.
So that's, first we had to get a zoning change, and now we need to tear down the old building that's on site, because there's too many buildings to meet the zoning code. But once we get that done, hopefully we'll get the permit and move forward. The other thing is, after several years of the county supervisors, well, probably more than several, not really providing much support for agriculture in our county, they are going to, we're in the process of updating the Ag and Farmland Protection Plan. So, and there seems to be, with some changes in the planning department and so on, there seems to be a little more interest in agriculture in our county now. So we're trying to kind of keep that going. And a question come up, and I don't know, I know John Resnicka used to kind of answer some of the legal questions for the state committee. I don't know if there's someone in legal now that does that, but a question come up about whether the district could be a member of Farm Bureau or not. In the past, they had been, and someone told them that that the district could not be a member of Farm Bureau.
District as an organization, not members
Right,
of the district.
right, not, you know, as individuals, but as an organization, and I don't know that there's anything in district law about it, but so I wondered if it was possible. We've been kind of searching for an answer on that and haven't found one yet, and I didn't know if one of the lawyers might be able to.
We had organizations as members in Genesee County District when I was county president. I don't see why not. Aaron, what do you think?
I don't know if the question's ever come up, but
Yeah. I've never seen any problem with it. I think most counties, they try to be, just because they work together so much.
Yeah, I forget it almost seemed like it came from another district, but that said, I forget, I can ask John again who it was that told him that, but, so I thought, you know, well, ask the question, see if we can get an answer.
Chastity Miller from Franklin County Soil and Water added to the chat that their district is a member.
Yeah, well, I think it's pretty common,
Yeah.
but that's why I was surprised when he was told that they couldn't be, so. But I would, if possible, like to have an attorney give it.
Sure. And we can
Yeah,
have.
we used to have the district manager at our meetings every month, just to give us reports.
Yeah. Well, and it didn't make sense to me. You got a Farm Bureau rep on district board, so.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand why it would be an issue, but. That's all
Sure,
I got.
I know Farm Bureau won't turn your way.
So the district office, that's huge. That's a big.
Yeah, you know, there again, it was a little interesting because initially it didn't seem like the county was really behind it. Of course, we had to do something like we did in Montgomery County when we built that office building. We had to get the funding through the county, and in Montgomery County, we got a bond through the county. In Fulton County, they didn't want to do it that way. They wanted to do it as a capital project. And we're like, well, that's fine. You know, it didn't matter to us as long as they. So, and the property was a piece of property that the county had taken back on taxes, and I think was kind of happy to do something with. So
it's great.
So yeah, it worked out good.
As we've heard, you know, district facilities still put up a barrier to growth in a lot of counties, you know, just they've outgrown them, and that's a big step, big move to construct a new.
Yeah, well, and our office building doesn't meet the you know, the requirements in terms of accessibility, so.
Good. It's good to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you. So moving over to advisory members. I don't believe Jeff Keogh is still with us, so for Ag and Markets, Brian, do you have anything you want to report on?
Yeah, I'll just say quickly, and hopefully more to come at future meetings, but we are working to implement the staffing plan for the division, which includes enhanced staff support for the Soil and Water Committee. And we've got one active recruitment right now that we've reinitiated for Bethany's backfill for water quality and associated programs. And since the last time we met, there has been also some developments with the State Civil Service and a new program that has been implemented called New York State Helps, which allows us to interview candidates who qualify for our positions. The qualifications are the same, but at this point in time, they do not have to take a test for the positions that we're hiring for. So that includes senior environmental analyst, associate environmental analyst, a number of other positions as well, including some support positions. But for us right now, it means that we are able to openly recruit, you know, good talent, those that are qualified, not taking away anything from those that were on the 2017 test, but can say that Civil Service is behind in initiating new testing, and we did not have any indication that they would be reissuing that test anytime soon. So this has really been a wonderful development for us to continue to build capacity. So more to come. The other recruitment is for the agricultural protection programming to get Northern New York AEA, who will be able to do construction inspections and other types of work related to solar and other energy projects. So there's a lot going on up in the North Country, so this will help us out tremendously. More to come.
Thank you. Don't believe we have anybody on the line, but I'll CCE. Okay. Cornell Cals.
Yeah, Jared's here, but I don't really have anything to report.
Well, thanks for joining, Jared. Appreciate it. CDEA.
Hi, Bethany. Thank you. Quick update for the New York State Conservation District Employees Association. We are making the final preparations for the Water Quality Symposium to be held March 12th through 15th at the DoubleTree Hotel in Syracuse. I thank the State Committee, NRCS, and all of the partner agencies who are presenting or facilitating classes and who coordinated credits for this year's event. Vice President Jessica Armstrong, who is coordinating the Water Quality Symposium, said that we have hit record numbers, and the hotel has said you cannot have any more registration, have any more people register for the event because they are maxed out. So great news for training district staff and our partners. Our next CDEA meeting will be held at our annual meeting on March 13th, 7 p.m. during the Water Quality Symposium. The four-way partnership and CDEA committees and the executive board will provide updates at our annual meeting. Additionally, we will review and adopt changes to the bylaws, discuss any district challenges or concerns, and review any resolutions that come from the floor. I had the state PJ, and we just for the next municipal subcommittee meeting, shared district and CDE active map. More to come for a save the date.
Oh, no one completed.
Meeting with DEC and compiled and submitted district feedback on the DEC's draft bridge and culvert guidance document. I also coordinated a presentation with DEC, who requested district feedback as well as being a supporting partner for the New York State Reforestation Plan. Our February CDEA news is hot off the press. I emailed it out statewide yesterday, and it is also available on our CDEA website. And I thank all of our contributors. And finally, I thank Bethany and the entire state committee team for your continued support. Bethany, that's all for me.
Thank you so much, Caitlin. Looking forward to the symposium for sure.
Hey Caitlin, quick question. I heard rumors of an overflow hotel. If that is the case, will we be notified, or is everybody so far in at the DoubleTree?
Yes, so our friends at NRCS need to stay at the other hotel, but Brian, that is a question for Jessica. Let me follow up with her and I'll CC you.
No problem. Just curious. Thank you. And that's a great thing, by the way. It shouldn't be viewed as an inconvenience. I think it's marvelous, given the amount of...
It is a great problem to have.
Yeah. And there's 15 million hotels right in that same area, so, you know, walkable.
Thank you, Caitlin. Moving on, did anyone from DEC join? Okay. How about about Department of Health? Paul, do you have a report today?
No, I don't have a report today. Thank you for the opportunity, though.
Thanks for joining anyway. How about Department of State?
Report on my end. Thank you.
Was that you don't have a report today? I'm sorry, you cut out.
Correct. Nothing to report here. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. How about ESF? I think I actually might have saw it. All right. And just to double check, has anyone from NRCS joined? All right. So moving on to state committee staff, I think we'll just go around folks in the room and then give folks on the line an opportunity. I'll kick things off. The only other thing that I wanted to share with the group today is that we are actively working together as a group to develop the 2023 State Committee and AEM annual report. Each year we are tasked with trying to put that report together by April 1st. We are well on our way with getting the information and data collected, and hopefully we will have a report put together and able to share that report out with the state committee and a whole host of others by the summertime. So just in the interim, I want to say thank you to all the staff for helping me to gather those reports, district highlights, and also for tracking your own accomplishments so we can report out on what the state committee has done over the past year. Ben?
Sure. I'm just going to highlight state aid here real quick. Since we met last, state aid was due February 15th. All the reports from the districts were in on time, which was a good thing. Thanks to the other regional guys for helping me chase down some reports that were outstanding in the last couple of days. Since then, I've reviewed the Part A reimbursement reports for the eligible expenditures. That's where districts show $120,000 plus of expenses, and they get reimbursed half of that, which is $60,000. Those reports have been fully reviewed. All districts but 3 earned the maximum amount. There were 3 districts this year that fell a little bit shy of receiving that $60,000, but they were close, mostly due to either short staffing or staff turnover seemed to be the reasons in all 3 cases. So they didn't have quite as much, salary and benefits to put towards that report this year. But all those have been reviewed. They've been sent down to fiscal, and as of this morning, it looks like they are leaving our offices today, so they should be hitting the district's bank accounts either today or tomorrow, according to fiscal. So that's a good thing. That's moving along. Part C, which is the large performance measures award, I'm about 50% done reviewing those reports. I've been sending emails out yesterday and this morning to districts that need further clarification on items with them. I've been CCing in the regional guys when I send out those requests. Most districts are pretty good at getting back to me right away, but they do technically have 3 days to get those responses back into us if they need it to provide that amplifying information that reinforces what they put on that report. Other than that, put together some annual report information that I shipped over to Bethany. Just the totals of the district's reports when we summarize and put all that information into one giant spreadsheet of what the districts have accomplished in 2023, just to highlight what we can in that report. Yeah, turn that over to Bethany. If you've got any questions, let me know. Other than that, that's what I've been working on. But not too much in regional aspect as of late, I guess.
Thanks, Ben. Fair to say that then in the next couple of months, once all the state aid reports are reviewed and finalized, we'll be able to put together more formal, comprehensive
Yeah.
presentation. for the
Yeah, we
group.
usually do more of a summary, hit on staffing, total amounts paid out, that sort of thing. So, probably April, I think is what we normally shoot for, April meeting for all of that information to go out. And once I wrap up performance measures, I'll be moving on to the hourly rates report so that we can get out the new recommended rates by April 1st, which is when they go into effect for next year. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. So just a couple of quick things from Region 2. I had an opportunity to sit in on an urban nutrient management WebEx, which I thought was quite interesting, and that's in sponsorship with DEC and the Upper Susquehanna Coalition. So we may hear a little bit more about that in the future, but it was certainly interesting to hear some of the opportunities that may be available out there for more urban nutrient management when it comes to parks and golf courses and homeowners and that kind of stuff. EBM project closeouts were coming in. I looked at a really great one on a farm that we've all been to before in the region. So those projects are coming in and getting closed out soon so we can make room for new EBM opportunities. A lot of ag non-point source closeouts as well coming in. In fact, I have a few more scheduled next month. Same with AIM 17 closeouts. They're coming in fast and furious, and a lot of neat projects out there. So those will continue to get finalized and move forward at the same time that we're also looking at the year 18 projects. A few of my districts have started to submit projects for that, so that's exciting. I think we're gonna have a lot of good work in round 18 as well. I did a 4-hour course online with Monroe County, and I've got one scheduled in my region with Cortland County coming up in 2 weeks. So if anybody knows of any contractors that need that 4-hour course, definitely contact either Monroe or Cortland County for upcoming trainings. A lot of board meetings, typical work as far as that goes, a lot of trainings, different types of trainings that we offer the boards, especially this time of year. That seems to be a hot topic so that people can meet their performance measures right off the bat, or at least get a good running start at them. I'm looking forward to working with the other AEAs on the district operations manual update. I think that's a great book. I know I talk about it pretty frequently at my board meetings. So that'll be exciting to get involved in the update opportunity with the other guys and the other partners. And then just wanted to say thank you to the districts in DEC and the Eastern Finger Lakes Watershed Coalition area. That's going to be an exciting opportunity, and I was so proud to be part of it with the partnership with all the districts, with Cayuga administering it, and with Tony and his folks at the DEC Hub, and Karen Stainbrook and others, and folks from our staff who look stuff over as well. And it came together quite quickly, and I think it's a great opportunity. And other than that, just looking forward to attending the Water Quality Symposium this year. That's it.
Thanks, BJ.
Thank you.
I don't have anything else to add.
Oh, Melissa, do you have anything to share today?
Nothing to report, thank you.
Thank you. Who's next? Tim.
Yeah, well, Greg already mentioned what we talked about at SPAC meeting for the CAFO Enhanced Nutrient Methane Management. So otherwise, no.
Thank you. Ryan?
Sure, thanks. A lot of the beginning of the year type of stuff, board meetings and trainings. I try to spend some extra time in districts that have new board members, particularly legislators who might not be used to sort of the format of the district. I go through a training and kind of take my time explaining state aid, where some of the programs are heading, where funding's kind of coming from, and sort of where we're heading into the future. It's been received pretty well. It's nice to see some new faces at some of these boards. The past month has been a lot of grant closeouts, a lot of push to kind of get paperwork in, to kind of wind down stuff that's been ongoing, and that includes AEM 17. A lot of AEM Tier 4 projects were closing down, saw a lot of good stuff in the past 2 years. Most of this stuff has gotten in and to Greg and reviewed, and now we're sort of in the transition to round 18. Already seeing some of the draft projects kind of coming in, spending some time with folks before the May 1st deadline to look at projects, have discussions, maybe even see some in the field, answer questions before we kind of hit that deadline, which has been nice. Quite a few budget discussions, just generally speaking, when we see state aid kind of coming in Part C towards the end of March here. Districts are talking about backfills a lot more, and even new positions, new technicians. those are good conversations to have. A lot of times there's room to fit another person in an office. There's more programs and money out there. So trying to provide as much information as possible to boards to make decisions on that, because it tends to be a big decision for a lot of these boards to add positions they haven't had in the past. So that's been some good conversations there. A lot of contracts with the Basin Program in Champlain. So half my region is in the Lake Champlain watershed. Got a great team of DEC folks up in that region, helping to kind of facilitate some of these small pilot programs for cover cropping and forest and rural road erosion. We just kind of closed up the first phase of cover cropping. Tyler was a huge help in transitioning some of that data to DEC, so everyone can kind of report equally among our groups. Some of that makes its way back to Champlain, which hopefully turns into more federal funding in the future. So that's been extremely helpful. Myself and a couple others on the staff here sit on the Envirothon committee. The call for volunteers went out just recently. So the state Envirothon is at SUNY Cortland this year. I'm not going to hit the date because I don't have it in my head, but it's the end of May. Look for that. We'd love to get volunteers. You'll see some reminders of those kind of coming out. For those that aren't aware, we're also hosting the National Envirothon in New York this year, and that's towards the end of July. Another huge event. We'll need a lot more volunteers for that, so you'll see some reminders coming out on that end. And then lastly, Caitlin alluded to it a little bit. We had some good discussions after the SPAC meeting on the Municipal Assistance Subcommittee meeting. That's something PJ and I have been hosting in the last several years. Jennifer's done it a lot in the past, focusing on municipal related topics with districts. And there's a lot of good ideas out there, so we're looking to kind of hold one of those soon, probably virtually. We're going to focus on DEC and the general permit and some of the permitting issues that are going on around the state with districts. And the goal is to focus on some success stories first and kind of see if we can get some DEC partners to present on that, kind of expand those ideas to different regions. Hopefully we'll have some more successes with districts around the state, and then kind of go from there. We have a lot of topics lined up. We could probably do a couple of them this year, and we'll kind of chip away at it one at a time. So that's mostly from my region. Appreciate the time. Thanks.
Thank you, Ryan. Tyler.
Perfect. Thanks, Stephanie. Just a couple things. First, I want to correct a statement earlier that I said the 26,000 hours was specific to SWCD time.
Cool.
So we'll get that out of the way. Second, kind of piggybacking on Ryan's, so the capacity building discussion, obviously nothing new, but specific to districts in this case is I've been working with a couple of the regional guys on developing a conservation district budget analysis type tool. So it would be like a plug and play type of a tool where you could enter in your district specific information, salaries, breakdowns, and basically compare yourself to the rest of the state. So a lot of that data comes from Ben's data collection over the course of the last couple of years. So slowly working on that type of a tool. We're kind of test driving a little bit with a couple of districts right now. So if it's of use, that's going to be hopefully something that districts could use as an additional tool. Additionally, working on a shared resource tool. I haven't really come up with a really great name, but it does kind of align with our discussion earlier this morning about just sharing certifications, sharing resources. So this type of a tool potentially would be housed with Caitlin and the CDEA on their website to basically enable districts to better interact with each other, see what special certifications, expertise is out there that's already existing that you may want to bring to your district. So long way to go, but we'll be looking for feedback in the next, hopefully, couple of months on that type of a tool. So,
Thank you. Scott.
Yeah, to follow up on last month's minutes, the CREP report, the statewide annual progress report that gets submitted every year was submitted in December. So we've already received back the draft to review, which I did the other day. The report, if anybody wants to read it, is on the G Drive. I think we'll try to get it up on SharePoint. It's not out of line with reports that have been submitted over the past 5 or 6 years. So many tons of reduction in nitrogen, so many phosphorus, so much sediment. We did change, modify, I think, the CAST model, which created some noticeable differences, so we're gonna have to look at that, noticeable differences year to year, to make sure that we're being consistent in our reporting, or at least telling them how we're reporting. One thing that I did include in the report that I hadn't in the past was the amazing contribution of USC's buffer coordinator, Lydia Brinkley, as well as the new FSA CREP coordinator at the state level, Nicole. Because of those two people, we really have seen an increase in participation in CREP and the number of acres that are getting done. So that was an added feature. I'm also going through a lot of the same kind of day in and day out. Round 7 plan of work, completion, AIM 17, Tier 4 project closeouts. That stuff's been pretty hot and heavy this month. Of special note, I will kind of continue what Tyler was just saying. Vic and I went to Delaware County and presented the same presentation that we had given at the NYACD annual meeting in Penn Yan late last year about district capacity building and retention, using a lot of data that both Vic and Tyler had come up with, and it went over really well. It was a message that was well received in that particular office. We're sort of preaching to the choir because they are one of the districts that sort of get it, if you will, and have expanded and have remained competitive in terms of their salary offerings and other things that they do to reimburse their districts and make a really great work environment, which is so important to, not only keeping people, but getting new people. So that presentation, I think, is really effective. And if other districts on the line want to have Vic and I come out and give that presentation to their offices, we're certainly available to do that. And as Tyler said, through the magic of his data management, he can come up with really specialized data. We give statewide averages to show trends of, available funding going one way and staffing going another, and salaries over time somewhat flat compared to other entry-level jobs in other industries right in New York, similar to ours around, but well received. I think they really enjoyed it, and it's a worthwhile presentation, and I think sort of something that has to be addressed if we're going to, be able to accommodate all this funding and expansion. So I'm really plugging it if others want to have that same presentation, but I think that's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott, and thank you guys for taking that on the road from NYCD and now to Delaware, and also want to note that they made the local newspaper, so I think that's really great. So thanks for taking that message to the district.
Still on newsprint, like actual physical newsprint, or
digital? Digital.
It's online behind a paywall.
Yeah. You can click on some advertisement to get the article, but then you're.
Larry got sent it over in a Word document. He must have copied and pasted.
Awesome. Congrats.
Victor.
The briefing for my region includes a lot of the same activities occurring in other areas of the state. I am seeing some new faces as well out my way, some backfills finally coming to fruition and being filled. Hannah in Wyoming, Nick in Niagara. Also some new directors being introduced to myself, mostly new supervisors and legislators being added to the boards, but the training concept continues to be a need throughout the district community. Other than that, PJ mentioned the operations manual. I'll just also include a quick advertisement for the operations subcommittee, which is the committee that we focused on the update to that document. Our anticipated first meeting will be in April of 2024. And just a shout out to any districts out there that have any interest in participating on this committee and the work that we plan to do this year. Please feel free to reach out to myself or Ben Luskin and let us know that you're interested.
Thanks, Vic.
Thank you.
All right, moving to some staff who are on the line. Greg, do you have anything you want to report today?
Bethany, everybody, yeah, thanks. Couple quick things. I just want to give a big hats off to all the districts as they've rounded out and closed off AIM 17. Like the regional coordinators have said, those projects are looking really good, and we will have a program summary with Tyler, like Tyler provided for the other programs later on in the spring here, once those tallies are all set. The deadline for final reports for AIM Phase 17 is a leap year, February 29th this week. So looking forward to all those coming in. And we are absolutely on track to be able to process and make payment anything that's come our way by that February 23rd deadline that we set a few weeks ago. And we're going to try really hard to get everything that came after it as much as we can in as well. So before that blackout period, see what we can pull off there. Big thanks to the regional coordinators for everything they've done to help make that tick. The other part is just a plug for on the AIM Leopold Conservation Award for 2024. That is out again and available for application. The application packet was sent to districts on February 6th. So if you need to refine that email and can't, or just want to cut to the chase and email me, happy to do that and send it to you again. And due date is May 15th. And, you know, maybe if folks are out working on developing projects or projects, and you're talking with a farm that's a real leader in the community and has been dedicated on farm viability and conservation for years, maybe think about putting together an application form. It'd be really awesome to at least have an application per Employees Association region, for instance, this year to draw from. So great opportunity, and we've been very fortunate to have a partnership and some absolutely awesome award recipients over the years. Thanks, Bethany.
Thank you, Greg. Ron Bush let me know that he's having some connection issues but doesn't have anything to report today. So we'll move on to Brendan. Do you have anything you want to share with the group?
Nothing to report at this time. Thank you, Bethany.
Thank you. So I believe that wraps up all the state committee staff reports. Are there any conservation districts on the line who would like to share a report today? Hearing none, are there any members of the public who are in attendance today that would like to share a report? All right.
Just add, this is Jason Mulford, Ag and Markets. I just add that we're in full swing with ag assessment, and hope that the districts are finding our recently provided training useful, and we're in constant communication with districts across the state regarding this topic. So just to alert you to that activity.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. That training definitely prompted a lot of one-on-one questions, answers, and support from the ag protection staff to districts, and districts to the ag protection staff, and CC and all the regional staff. I think that was a really great thing to do, and just to remind folks that we're here as a resource. Thank you, Jason.
I believe that wraps up all the reports, Dale.
Thank you, everyone. Next on our agenda is our next meeting.
Our
looking
district
at-
board meets, our district board meets on the third Tuesday of every month, so I've got a conflict with this. So I mean, if this is the only date available, we could probably change the district board, but do we meet, the state committee typically meets on the fourth Tuesday?
Third Tuesday,
Third
usually.
Tuesday, okay,
This
then
month
that's-
was an exception.
Okay, all right, because that's what I wasn't clear about, so obviously I'm gonna have to make a change then with the district board, okay.
Well, what are the other voting members' availability for that date? I'll have to confirm with Erica. She's unable to join today.
March 19th, Darren?
I think it looks all right.
Scott?
Yeah, I think it's all right for me.
All right, I will, Dale, I'll get with the district staff and we'll have to see if we can, because obviously it's gonna be a problem for me every month if we don't
Yes,
change
right.
our district board meeting, schedule, so.
Well, let the staff know, let Bethany know, and if it's going to be a real big problem, we'll look at trying to adapt something too. Just let Bethany know, and we'll work something out if we have to.
Yeah, okay, I'll get with the district and see what we can do, and if we can't work something out there, then I'll get back to Bethany and we'll go from there.
Great, thank you. Well, I guess March 19th is our next meeting then.
Okay.
Do you have anything else, Bethany, that we have to cover today?
Nope, nothing further at this time. Just, I know we're past our agenda adjourn time, so I appreciate everyone hanging in there for the extra half an hour or so.
Must be the new guy.
We've had great attendance today. For those that don't know, there were 67 people in attendance today. We had great attendance. So, since our other part was canceled, we might as well adjourn for today. I appreciate everybody's help.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Hope you all have a good day.
So,
Just a note.